This is Keith Helwig from Cops Corrections Videos. If you like my videos, please hit the red subscribe button. Today I'd like to talk about something which correlates to my last video. My last video I made was officers that write up every single violation that they find. And one theory was that a new officer should write up every offense that they come across because it helps establish their reputation, it helps establish their respect. And I disagreed with that, and if you want to know my reasons why, I guess you can watch the last video. Well, in this one, I'd like to talk about a new supervisor. Somebody who moves up to a supervisory position, whether it's a sergeant at your facility, a lieutenant, or a captain. Should that new supervisor write up every employee that commits an infraction? Does that get them respect? Does that get them fear? Does that let their people know what they expect? And the thing is, I don't think that that should happen. As a supervisor, my philosophy was that I was there to help people succeed, not watch them fail. I can recall one individual who I worked with as a captain. He'd come from another institution. And at his previous institution, he wrote up 2 staff members who had brought back a hospital trip. And he was watching from his office as they let these people go back, the hospital trip, go back without being strip searched. Now, there were circumstances where they weren't strip searched because it was a female officer and the male officer had other duties. He had to run the records over to medical and things like that. But this supervisor watched it happen. He watched this inmate walk back to his unit without being strip searched, and he wrote the 2 officers up. Now, my feelings were, when I heard about this, and the 2 officers actually lost their job over it. They won it back after filing grievances and fighting for it. They got their job back. But I think the one that should have lost their position was that captain, because he knowingly let that inmate go back without being searched, and he wrote those officers up, and I just could not agree with the whole thing. Well, he was under pretty intense scrutiny for doing that. And the security director he worked for, basically he was the security director's brownie boy. Security director also went elsewhere, and he transferred that captain with him. And that kind of negated any consequences for him at that institution. Well, unfortunately, that captain is now a security director at one of the maximum security institutions. And, you know, he had a reputation as being a headhunter. If you did something wrong, he was going to write you up. Did people respect him? No, people didn't respect him. Did people fear him? Yeah, people feared him. I had a security director, my last security director. I respected his position. I didn't respect him. I didn't fear him either, which really pissed him off to no end, because he wanted everybody to fear him. But that's just the way it went. I wasn't one of his yes men, and I fell out of favor. And as a result of falling out of favor, I ended up on 3rd shift, and, you know, whatever, the rest is history. But should a supervisor write everybody up? No. You know, you've got an employee who is blatantly violating policies and procedures, and you've talked to them about it, and they know the consequences of it. As a supervisor, should you write them up? Most definitely. I had someone contact me, a friend on Facebook contact me, and he is kind of a mid-level supervisor, I'd say probably a sergeant, and he's having a problem with the young people working for him not following policy and procedures. You know, and he kind of asked me what the solution might be. Well, I guess I can think the only solution would be to almost make an example, find the biggest troublemaker, the one that's not doing it, and talk to him first. You know, don't go out there and headhunt anybody. I don't recommend ever headhunting anybody. If somebody's screwing up and you know about it, as a supervisor, you should be talking to that person, and you should be letting them know what they're doing wrong. But after that, it's on them. And if they continue to do it, write them up. Write them up. Start a paper trail on them. You know, sometimes you need to set an example. And you know what? I don't like the headhunting aspect of it, and I don't like making somebody a sacrificial lamb. But sometimes if a person screws up enough, you've got to make that person a sacrificial lamb. You've got to make them an example. You know, if their behavior and their actions are bad enough to warrant, write them up. And that's not your problem as a supervisor. That doesn't mean you're being a bad supervisor. If you've talked to them, if you've gone to your superiors and nobody's doing anything, it's your job as a supervisor to make sure that they're doing their job. As I said previously, as a supervisor, it's your job to help people succeed, not watch them fail. You can do that through example, by being an example of a person who does follow policies and procedures, a person who does do their job. Or you can do it by writing the person up and making them fear you. If you make them fear you, they're not going to respect you. So once again, remember, as a supervisor, it's your job to help people succeed, not watch them fail. Until next time, this is Keith Helwig from Cops Corrections Videos. Stay safe and watch your back.